Welcome to Her Remarkable History. Remember, to support our channel, please subscribe. The forgotten tragic 4 wives of King Philip II of Spain. Now, Henry VIII is known for having 6 wives, and many of these suffered greatly at the hands of the Tudor Monarch and his advisors. 2 of them were even executed, and others were shunned and died. But there was one man who was married to Henry VIII's daughter, whose love life is considered also very tragic. Philip II of Spain was the Prince of Spain, and later the King of Spain and Portugal. But he also was considered the King of England, and he had many other titles including the Duke of Burgundy. He was considered a man who was devoutly Catholic and religious, and he viewed himself as a defender of the Catholic faith against spreading Protestantism in Europe. He launched later the Spanish Armada, the greatest naval fleet ever seen at the time, but he was a man whose love life was tragic, and all of his wives died whilst they were married to the king, and he outlived every one of them. But what is the story of the forgotten wives of King Philip II of Spain? Now, Philip II was one of the most important rulers across the 16th century, and he was considered a warmonger and also a man who tried to marry different women to secure alliances for himself. He managed to do this as he married into a number of European royal families. He was described as slight of stature and round face, with pale blue eyes, somewhat prominent lips, and pink skin, but his overall appearance is very attractive. He dresses very tastefully, and everything that he does is courteous and gracious. His first wife was Maria Manuela, the Princess of Portugal. She was the eldest daughter and second child of King John III of Portugal and his wife Catherine of Austria. She was given a good humanist education. However, on the 12th of November 1543, she married her second cousin, Philip II of Spain, at Salamanca. With this, it linked the Spanish and Portuguese crowns. Her heir would become the King or Queen of Spain and Portugal, and as she married the Prince of Austria, their wedding was considered one of the most opulent and luxurious in Spanish history. The journey to collect Maria for her husband was immense, and she was given huge luxuries along the way and gifts of treasure. Spain at the time had a fledgling empire through exploration, and Maria, it's believed, would sometimes in the future become the Queen of Spain. However, despite marrying Philip, the pair had a happy 2-year marriage, it's believed, until tragedy hit the royal couple. She gave birth to their son Carlos on the 8th of July 1545, but Maria, the Princess of Portugal, then died 4 days later after suffering a hemorrhage caused by childbirth, dying of the blood loss caused. Now, childbirth was very dangerous at the time, and she was then buried inside the Royal Chapel of Granada and was later transferred to the Royal Crypt. However, following his first wife's death, Philip II then looked for another wife. His father arranged a marriage to the 37-year-old Queen Mary I of England, his maternal first cousin, and Mary at the time was trying to restore Catholicism in England. They married at Winchester Cathedral 2 days after they first met, and Philip believed the marriage was entirely political, and many in England feared the influence of the Spanish prince. Philip would in England enjoy the titles and responsibility practically as a king, whilst he was married to Mary, and all official documents were to be signed under their joint authority. Coins were even minted showing Mary and Philip on them, and it was made treason to deny Philip's royal authority and role in England. He and Mary were recognised as the rightful King and Queen of Ireland, and the couple hoped that they would have a child together to secure Catholic Anglo-Spanish heirs to the throne. However, this never occurred, as Mary I believed she was pregnant, and she did suffer with swellings of her stomach, which looked like a baby. However, she ultimately died in 1558 childless. With her death, Philip lost the rights to the English throne, and the throne passed to Mary's half-sister Elizabeth I. He even issued Elizabeth a proposal of marriage, which was denied, and this union was considered illegal and illegitimate. Philip would maintain peace until the Armada was launched. However, he was now on the lookout for wife number 3. Elizabeth of Valois married him in 1559, and she had previously been negotiated to marry Edward VI of England, the heir of Henry VIII. The couple were married via proxy at Notre Dame, and at their official wedding she met two female paintings who stayed with her for the rest of her life. But the issue at the time was that Philip's bride was just a 14-year-old girl. He became obsessed with her and enchanted by her, and he even gave up his mistresses. Elizabeth did love her husband, and despite the age gap she considered him charming, and Philip tried to impress her with many tournaments hosted in her honour. He was very attracted to her, and he stayed close by her side when she became very ill with smallpox, a contagious disease which was considered very deadly. However, more tragedy came, as Elizabeth's first pregnancy in 1560 delivered a stillborn son, and then 4 years later she miscarried twin girls. She later gave birth to Infanta Isabella Clara Eugenia of Spain on the 12th of August 1566, and another daughter, Catherine Michelle of Spain, in October 1567. Philip and Elizabeth were close with their daughters, and they spoiled them with many toys. Elizabeth had another miscarriage on the 3rd of October 1568, and during this she died tragically as a result of the failed pregnancy. Following her death, Catherine de' Medici offered her younger daughter Margaret as a bride for Philip, but he declined the offer, and it's believed that Elizabeth's death had a profound impact on him. So all of Philip's wives so far had died, all three of them, but this did not stop him searching for wife number 4, and 2 years after Elizabeth's death he married his final wife, Anne of Austria. She was the eldest daughter of the Holy Roman Emperor, and was considered a very desirable candidate for many European princes and kings. However, Philip was left as a widower with 2 young daughters, and he wanted to remarry as he did not have a male heir. The marriage was proposed between Anne of Austria and Philip, despite the fact he was her maternal uncle, and the Pope initially opposed this. The engagement was announced in 1569, and she travelled the following year to marry Philip. She arrived on the 3rd of October, but as she arrived she was given a new household. She was described as a vivid and cheerful woman, and the marriage was considered a happy one. She was regarded as Philip's most beloved wife, and many diplomats claimed the king was in love with his young bride, and he shunned royal mistresses during their marriage and stayed faithful to her despite the age gap. Philip at the time was the King of Spain, and they regularly corresponded in letters, and he visited her in her bedchambers up to 3 times a day. Anna gave birth to 5 children, including 4 sons, but the eldest 3 died before Philip did, but the youngest son, Philip III, did succeed him. However, yet again his wife would die. In 1580 she died from influenza, 8 months after giving birth to her last child. But following the death of his 4 wives, Philip continued to live for another 18 years. But his love life is considered a very turbulent and tragic one. It's clear he loved his wives and was devoted to a number of them, but the story of his relationships is one which ended with one common strand, death. All of them died before he did, and with this his love life is one which is almost as tragic as Henry VIII's. Thank you for watching, and to support, please subscribe to Her Remarkable History. Thank you.